I think you did a great job with it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0.
Welcome to Center of Light Radio. Keith Anthony Blanchard here. Center of Light Radio, Center of Divine Unfoldment and Reinforcement. Strapping all my brother and sister astronauts as we going to be launching for inner space. We're going into the cave of Samadhi, y'all. You know what Samadhi is? That's going to talk nice to mom and dad. When you do that, things get really good. Really, really good. My guest today, we're going to be doing some of that, is Reena. Let me see if I can say her name without looking at it. Kumarasingham.
Well done.
That was good. Well done.
Yeah.
A couple of announcements. I'm going to get right down to the meat potatoes of this show. Couple of announcements. If you have not purchased this bad boy right here, Homecoming: Crossing the Bridge to the Soul, it went to bestseller in UK. You can find that. Now let me drop a link. I deserve to drop this link in here. Check it out. And for those who have pre-ordered the book and have read it, I could share you some reviews on Amazon. So you can follow that very same link and leave a review if you have purchased this book. Also, I did a presentation. Oh my God. I got to download beyond Keith Fashion a book. So I got up the next morning by being prompted to get up. And I got busy for hours. I have a new release coming out really soon. When I say really soon, 6 months kind of thing. I'm working day and night. This is a new love of mine called The Gospel of Yanava, the Coming of the Celestial Church. May the power and glory of Lord Jesus Christ touch you, heal you, and grace you with the ultimate blessing of your liberation. Wow! After this interview with this lovely lady, I am going to be doing a presentation tonight. Let's see. Yeah, let me find my screen. I'm going to be doing a presentation. And this is very much in alignment with what we're going to be talking about, I believe, today. Wrong one. Hang on a second. What am I doing, Keith? I got drums on. I didn't want drums on. The Dawning of Aquarius. Oh, my God. Look at that banner. Isn't it gorgeous? 8 o'clock tonight. Make sure you come around for that. Lots of technology where it gets a little monkey-minded. So all of that being said, let me get my guest on the show. Let me tell you a little bit about Reena Kumarasingham. We're going to be speaking about her new book. I saw her open up the box. What a great feeling that is after you give birth to your baby and it comes out of the cosmic box womb. We're going to be speaking about divine consciousness. Let me tell you a little bit about Reena and where is her bio? Oh my God, Reena, I don't have it. Let me bring her on the show. My apologies. Welcome to Center of Light Radio, dear. Give us a little background on you.
Hi, Keith. It's so
Hi,
nice. It's so nice being on your show. Thank you for having me. So basically, I'm a graduate in psychology. I'm also a past life regression therapist and a trainer. I've been doing this for more than 10 years. I also train people in the advanced vibrational techniques for the new plane, which is basically living and being in the new consciousness in this new earth that we're birthing, because it's all about a new way of being. And I have also written 3 books. And my 3rd book is what we're talking about, Divine Consciousness. And I think we spoke last time, seemingly another lifetime ago, which was only just which was only just 6 months ago, but a lot has happened since then about the Magdalene lineage. And it all started with the first book, Shrouded Truth, which basically where I had, over the course of 4 years, I had about 8 different people from all over the world who went back spontaneously to different lives in the biblical times, and they sort of went back to their lives where they were very close to Jesus. We had Mia, who went back to the life of James, the brother of Jesus. We had Greg, who went back to the life of St. Paul the evangelist. We had Maya, who went back to the life of Mary Magdalene. And in Shrouded Truth, there were 5 more people. And from that, I did more regression on Maya, as well as Rose, who went back to the life of Tamar, the daughter of Jesus and Mary Magdalene. And so that's how the Magdalene lineage came about, where we looked at how the divine feminine developed through her teachings, but also we looked at how she laid the foundations of Gnostic teachings as well. And then with James, the brother of Jesus, and St. Paul the evangelist, I dug a lot deeper into their lives as well and came up with how they led 2 of the biggest, in those times, early Christian movements, with St. Paul being the Gentile Christian movement and with James being the Judeo-Christian movement.
Last time we had talked about you regressing me about some of this rabbit hole stuff.
That's right.
So what's happening? What's going on with the book? Has it been released yet?
Now, the book is coming out on the 25th of September, but it's available for pre-order right now on Amazon. And I think also the book depository.
Can you grab it behind you and show it to us?
Sure.
We would love to see it.
This is it.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Divine Consciousness. Yes. And basically, it just talks about how the early Christian movement developed through the eyes of James, the brother of Jesus, as well as St. Paul, the evangelist. And the book also has teachings in these little tables. So basically what people will be able to get from this book is how the different rituals came about and how they gave different interpretations to the rituals and how the teachings developed, because it was so different. The way James taught and what Paul said and how they developed the story was so different. So, and we'll get into that during this conversation as well.
So you are all across the board. You have studied. Is your background Indian? Is that it?
Yes. So I'm Malaysian,
Malaysian?
but my ancestry is Sri Lankan, and I grew up a Hindu. So basically, for me,
You're everywhere.
Exactly.
Spiritually, I love it.
So basically, past lives is a fact of life for me, with my background and the way I was brought up. But then I think I mentioned to you as well that my parents are very, very devout Sai Baba, Satya Sai Baba devotees as well. Sai Ram. So we ended up, I've been to Puttaparthi and Vrindavan as well. And yes, so basically what happened was, after I graduated with my degree in psychology, I felt like I wasn't ready to serve in that capacity. I was only 21 years old. So I did a business degree, like a master's in business administration, and I ended up working in the corporate world, in the media industry for about 10 years. And I got really bored. And so basically what happened was, one of my mentor in the public relations world said to me, if you're bored doing public relations in the media industry, you're better off getting out of public relations altogether. And so I decided to go back to the psychology to see if I can serve in that capacity. And so I did about a year in NLP, and I realized I loved it, but NLP wasn't my path. And then what happened was I saw a workshop by someone called Andy Tomlinson, who is the director of the Past Life Regression Academy in Singapore, because this time I was working in Singapore. And he basically, I mean, the whole training basically marries psychotherapeutic techniques with past life regression work. And I thought, cha-ching, this is it. This is my thing. The angels started to sing. And so that's exactly right. And so I signed up for the course. I did the course. I then married the teacher, and and then I ended up in the UK. So I've been, and then now I've been teaching it. I teach between lives regression as well, and because I started to train in the academy, and I trained in Australia. I train in the US and the UK, and so through a myriad of clients and students, these regressions popped up over 4 years, and that's how the books were birthed. So yes, all over the place.
Wow, what a rich background, and it's great to have that spiritual artillery in your belt.
That's exactly right. Yes, yeah, exactly. Because I think even the foundation, the basis in Hinduism has really helped me see things in a different way as well, and it's helped me understand things in a different way. And it's fascinating how this ancient wisdom, whether it's from Hinduism, whether it's from ancient Christianity, it's all coming to fruition now almost. So it's nice to see the marriage of everything.
It's gorgeous. And if you follow Hindi, along with Christianity, along with Buddhism, being Christian helps you become a better Hindi and Buddhist, and being a Buddhist helps you become a better Christian. It's all the same shake hands deal across the board, because it's very well rounded. When you get very well rounded, you can wrap your heart truly around the teachings, and some of the teachings, actually, your intuition begins to heighten, because you by nature begin to understand what truth looks like, because you're so well rounded and diverse by studying such cultures. You begin to isolate the common denominator for all of mankind, right?
Yes, that's exactly right. And it's so funny because, with Hinduism, it's basically like a way of life. But Hinduism also focuses a lot on your soul, your Atma, and moksha and nirvana is just all about the marriage of your Atma, your soul, to, the greater consciousness, the one greater consciousness. And it just talks about how, like, we are all divine within, like we all are divine consciousness. And that's what I really love about Hinduism. And that's also what I really love about what Sai Baba taught as well, how all paths lead to one. And, it's all about your soul, your Atma. And it's fascinating because even with Divine Consciousness, the book, and even with the Magdalene lineage, the focus is a lot on the internal soul as opposed to the external divinity or deity.
I really lean into the Hindi, but I'm starting to really fall in love with Christianity again. At first I had to go through the process. I was raised Catholic, the judgment, all the dogmatic stuff, and then the resentment that happens when you wake up. But I'm starting to really, really delve into the life of Christ. I always have, but now it's like really something I'm really yearning for. In fact, most people don't know about me. I am more about Jesus when it comes to my work than anything. And now this is starting to resurface in a big way. Hence that new book I'm going to be writing called The Gospel. Yes. It's about my time with Yeshua and through the course of my life and the alignments that took place about Yeshua when I was with Satya Sai Baba. Some of these miracles that are happening that are pointing me in a direction. Keith, you must do this. You got to do this. And I didn't like it so much. But when you were in India, did you, on Puda Party, so you actually saw with your eyes, Satya Sai Baba. What was that feeling like?
Oh, it was incredible.
Right.
It was, yeah. I mean, when he came, you could just feel the vibration change. Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And my mother, I didn't, but my mother had an opportunity to Pada Namaskar him, where, you know, she managed to touch his feet. And she said she just felt this vibration just go straight through her fingers into her entire body. So, yeah, no, it was
I love
phenomenal.
it. When I was there was a Seva doll sitting next to me, and I was on first row. And I'm telling you, Reena, I got first row. I was there for 2 weeks. I got first row 90% of the time.
Really?
Yes.
We never got first row.
And I was in first row having a chat with the Seva doll. He says, Saram, maybe when Sai Baba come in, he let you touch his feet. You ever touch Sai Baba's feet? I said, no. He said, maybe today's your day. I said, I would love that. So Sai Baba comes in and he's coming towards my direction. And I'm thinking, do I dare? Because, you know, sometimes he'll do this, meaning no, no, no. And so I didn't want to do that, and out of respect and all that. And he says, maybe now's your moment. And I did.
Oh my God.
Yes.
And what did that feel like?
I can't even begin to describe it.
Yeah.
I don't know if there was a feeling that happened because I touched God's feet, or if it's something that I just wanted so much that it created this elation in me. But I guess the answer would be there would be no difference between the two.
No. Yeah.
It was truly divine.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, his vibration is just amazing, off the charts.
So let's talk about your wonderful, beautiful book that's going to be out really, really soon. What would you like to share with us from this book? And everyone, while she's talking with you and letting you know what's this beautiful piece of work is about, I'm going to go grab her web address and post it in this form. That way you can go stomp all over our page and make a big, beautiful noise.
Okay. So basically what I really love about this book is how you see two different teachings come through from the one source, who is Jesus. So what basically came from the book, which really surprised me, now bearing in mind that I didn't have a really strong background in Christianity when I first started this project. I only started to develop an appreciation for Christianity and for Jesus and for his teachings through this particular project of writing the 3 books. But what happened was there were 2 major branches that emerged after Jesus died. When Jesus was about to transcend and leave the earth, he actually gave his mantle of his church, of his teachings, to his brother, James, the brother of Jesus. And the thing that came out through the books is with Judeo-Christianity, both Jesus and James were born Jews. They were Jews. And what Jesus didn't like was he didn't like the way the Pharisees and the Sadducees were basically structuring the teachings and how they taught people and how they managed people. There was a very strong hierarchy. They were quite disassociated from the people. So he didn't like all that. He didn't like the way the money was managed. And they were also focusing more on themselves being the intermediary between the people and the one God. Whereas at the same time, you had the Essenes also in Judea at that time, in Qumran, in the caves, not so much in Jerusalem. And what he did was he really resonated with the way the Essenes taught. The Essenes were basically teaching about divine consciousness, that everyone is divine within, and to come from within to without. So everything needs to, compassion comes from within, love comes from within, peace comes from within, versus being told what to do. It's about choice from within. It's about radiating that divine light from within. It's about touching that oneness. And there is no need for intermediary. So because of this, he was challenged. He was greatly challenged in Judea, not by the Pharisees or the Sadducees, but also by the Romans, because the Romans had a completely different belief system. And what they wanted to do was they wanted to be seen as the conqueror. So when Jesus came with these teachings of going within and your own choices, they didn't like that either. So he was basically sentenced to die. But when he passed the mantle of his church on to his brother James, James was basically wanting to really honor that way of teaching. But James also said in the regression, in the accounts, that his strengths were not Jesus's strengths. He wasn't a teacher, as it were. But what he did was he became the embodiment of everything that Jesus taught. So he became the person. His being was the teachings, which I thought was so beautiful. And that's why he got the name, James the Righteous, James the Just. And his role was basically mediating between the Judeo-Christian church in Jerusalem, because when Jesus passed away, the church started to fracture a lot. And the reason for this is because there were different factions. You had the zealots who were very passionate about the way of life, the Jewish way of life, and they were very much against the Romans, and so they would conduct protests and riots. And then you had the Judeo-Christians who wanted to follow the Jewish laws a lot more. And then you had the Gentile Christians coming in. Now, the Gentile Christians were basically the Christian teachings that Paul started to teach. Now, I found this really fascinating because when I started to talk to people about Paul the Evangelist, because I knew very little about Paul the Evangelist, he was either seen as the beacon of Christianity or the villain of Christianity, depending on who you spoke to, because people thought that he went and changed the story. In the accounts, he did change the story. What happened was he was so inspired by Jesus. He loved Jesus's message so much that he actually said, okay, I'm going to take this and I'm going to teach this because I want everybody to hear Jesus's teachings of love. And what he did was he chose to go into Rome to teach Jesus's teachings. Now, in those days, the Romans didn't like so much the Jews. So, because they were conquering the Jews. And here was this man who wanted to take a Jewish man's teachings of love into a nation that was very, very spiritual, but they worshiped deities, many different types of deities, but their belief system was entrenched in the fact that their deities were wrathful gods until they sacrificed for the deities to get the blessing. So here was this man coming to teach them about love and about sacrifice, and he couldn't penetrate the Roman belief system. It wasn't relevant to the Romans. So that's why he started to pontificate, and he started to say that Jesus was divine, because that would put Jesus on the same level as all these other gods. And then he said, and here is this divine God who sacrificed himself for you because of love, because he loved you. So that basically flipped the narrative from the old, you need to sacrifice, otherwise the gods will be angry and punish you, to here is this God who sacrificed himself for you.
Yeah, let me show you what real sacrifice is.
That's right. That's exactly right. And so that started to get people listening to him. And that's why he changed the story. So if you look at the Judeo-Christian world, they don't say that Jesus was divine. They said that he was this incredibly inspiring person. The Gnostics also say the same thing. The Gnostics actually say that he is divine and he is mortal at the same time, just like everyone else is. Gentile Christianity says that Jesus is divine, and this is the reason why Paul did this. And slowly, he started to talk to more people, and he was doing this during a really difficult, dangerous time because everyone was being persecuted as well. When the Romans found out that they were, like, the early Christians were practicing Christianity, they would get killed, they would be taken to the arena. So I thought it was very, very brave what Paul was doing to get this message out there. And then slowly he started to talk to senators, and then then it just started to get the ball rolling. And then he tried to pull the Gentile Christians to the Judeo-Christian world. And there was another battle there because the Gentile Christians didn't necessarily want to observe the Jewish laws. So they didn't want to be circumcised, for example. So that's where the difference was. And then that's where the entire thing started to divide and part. Yeah. And so what happened was in 70 AD, after James had died, the Romans laid siege on Jerusalem, and Judeo-Christianity, basically, that whole church crumbled and dissipated. And the Judeo-Christians sort of dissipated into the Arab world. And this is where I think this is so fascinating, because the Judeo-Christians, through the leadership of James, held a different belief of what happened to Jesus on the cross as compared to the Gentile Christians. And they held the same belief that is also in the Quran, the Muslim religious books as well. So I found that connection very, very interesting there. And then when the Judeo-Christian church sort of dissipated, then the Gentile Christian church kind of just kept moving further and further and further apart, and completely, at some point, I think it was in the 4th century, the Roman bishop, the Roman leader, appointed Greek bishops in Jerusalem. And then that basically completely cut off the bloodline, the hereditary line of the Judeo-Christian church as well. And then it just grew. Gentile Christianity grew. But it wouldn't have grown without the efforts of Paul.
Are you familiar with the Gospel of Thomas?
I am not so deeply familiar, but I am familiar with it. But it's interesting because in my research, I found out that was the earliest original writings of Christianity. It was much earlier than the Gospels as well, the New Testament.
Scholars believe that, or they will say that it's very likely, maybe you know something about this, Jesus had a twin brother.
That's right. I did regress Thomas in Shrouded Truth in the first book. So that was one of the people I regressed in Shrouded Truth. And the funny thing there was, because I didn't know anything about Christianity, and Mina, the person who was regressed back to Thomas, it was funny because when I regressed her, we finished the regression, because she came to me for a between lives and she popped into the life of Thomas. After that regression, she came out and she said, I didn't know that there was a disciple Thomas for Jesus. And I said, I didn't know there was a disciple Thomas for Jesus as well. And she kept saying twin. And then we Googled, and, sure enough, there was a disciple and there was the twin brother. Yeah. So that.
I just started recently getting into the Gospel of Thomas. In fact, it's inspiring me to do certain things with my life. But I just thought it was just very, very interesting. Let me ask you this question. From your research, your inner work, your intuition as well, how many people, maybe you can name a few of them, that were around Jesus that truly became illumined? I'm sure they were all inspired, but how many of them truly fired off into divine consciousness? Can you name a few of them?
Yeah, I can. I mean, I can tell you from the accounts, from the regression, Mary Magdalene definitely became illumined. Tamar definitely was. Jesus was, of course. But it was interesting because in in the Magdalene lineage, you see how they work together, Mary Magdalene and Jesus, and how Jesus slowly brought out the divine light and showed Mary Magdalene that she had her divine light and sort of helped it bloom. And she also helped him as well. And then
That's
together they
delicious.
helped. Yeah, and then together they help the children bloom and
Wow.
see their own divine light. And then, it just kept growing like this. You know how you got the sun and the rays, like or the stars and it was just like that, it was just absolutely phenomenally beautiful. Um, uh, Paul the Evangelist, I wouldn't say was necessarily illumined, but he was totally inspired and he totally loved Jesus's teachings. He just decided to make it an external experience as opposed to internal experience when he was spreading the teachings. James did. James actually, James was illuminated a little bit because he became, but he became it more in behavior as opposed to spiritual energy, as it were. Does that make sense? Yeah. So, um,
Mom became illuminated.
pardon?
His
Mom.
mom.
Yes, yes. Mary Magdalene did. Sorry, not Mary. Mother Mary did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I didn't regress Mother Mary, so I can't, attest to the accounts. I haven't found her yet.
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 I love it. Yet.
You never know.
I would love to be in that room with you when a discovery or someone actually steps out and you go, oh, I've been waiting for you. I'd love to see this thing unfold for you.
Exactly.
What
I
about
would love to regress you, but
we can do that.
yeah.
I had it done a few years ago, in fact, twice, and I went to the same place with the same experience. One of
Right.
them was back in the VHS videotape days. Order now, and we'll send you a hypno regression. So I did it with a group of people, probably about 10 of us, 12 of us, in a one-bedroom apartment. We were all just sitting on the floor watching TV, and everybody fell asleep after about 5 minutes of listening to this voice. In 45 minutes, everybody woke up. And I remember looking down at my feet and seeing sandals, and the experience continued. And that's part of something that maybe you and I can explore at some other point in the future.
I'd love to do that.
Yeah. And so we were talking about everyone tonight. My guess is Reena Kumarasingham. How do you
Well
pronounce
done.
that? Is that right?
Kumarasingham. Yeah.
Kumarasingham.
Yeah.
We were speaking about her new book, soon to be released, Divine Consciousness. Who you are published with? I know it's John Hunt, but is it 6 books? Is it O Books? What is it?
O Books.
O Books.
Yeah, both the Magdalene Lineage and Divine Consciousness are published by O Books. Shrouded Truth was self-published.
Fantastic. Exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's amazing. It's like giving birth to a baby.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
You bring forth something that you cherish, that you nurture,
Yes.
that you care for.
Yeah,
Every day pages turn.
that's right. Yeah,
It's a book.
it is a book.
We are the living testament. We are the living word.
Exactly. Yeah.
Word up. I see you have a whole string of books in you. You have many more.
Oh, within me? Oh,
Oh,
thank
yeah.
you.
You're
Yeah.
going to be doing this a long time
Oh, wow.
until you get tired of it and you want to stop. Yeah, what I see in you is there's a wellspring that's completely open, and there's so much in there that's untapped.
Keith, thank you. That's so
You're
kind.
welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
For saying that.
And what is doing it for you, for all of us actually, is that want to tap that well.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you walk is as long as you're walking.
Yes.
You got to get your feet going forward.
That's right.
That's inward. And that inward brings you upward, which brings you forward towards something, that new book, that
Yes.
new car you've been working for, that whatever it is you want. So we're always giving birth. Now, what we don't often see, hopefully that's going to be changed because of the situation, is because of lockdown, we're all becoming clear. We're understanding that via this separation, we're uniting strangely. The divine lives in the most crazy places.
Exactly right. But I think this is where shining the light comes in, because I think in the spiritual world, a lot of people assume shining the light is, you're giving out the love and the light, which is part of it. But shining the light is also shining it within the shadows or within the darkness to illuminate things, to bring light to things that are hidden. And I think that's what's happening now. And I think that's what's really exciting about now is that we are moving ages. We are moving from, as you say, you're going to talk about this at 8 o'clock your time. I will catch the recording of that because it's a bit too late for me. Um, but we are moving from the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius. And every time that there's a completely different change of age, there is going to be a lot of chaos because there is a lot of light that's being shone, and there is a lot of vibrations that's coming in to basically bring about a big change. And the same thing happened 2,000 years ago, during the biblical time as well. That was a time where the world was moving from the age of Aries to the age of Pisces. And 2,000 years before that, with Moses, they were moving from the age of Taurus to the age of Aries. And every time there's a shift in consciousness, so let's talk about this 2,000 years ago from a historical perspective, there's always chaos. So if you think about it, there were geopolitical fights in Judea. You had the Romans occupying Jerusalem. You had people fighting against Herod. There were lots of protests because people didn't like the way things were done, and so again, there was push-pull and there was a lot of light coming in. There was socioeconomic changes. There was socioeconomic distress, as it were, that brought about changes as well. And also there was a massive spiritual change that was happening there. And that's exactly what's happening now as well. There is a huge spiritual change that's happening because there is this light that is coming through, and we're able to see things in a very different way. And of course, there is this extreme polarization that's happening now. The same thing happened 2,000 years as well. But it is only from this extreme polarization that we can really examine things from one extreme to another extreme. And then we can use our own divine consciousness to figure out what resonates with us and what doesn't resonate with us as well. The trick there, though, which is quite difficult, is to remain a bit detached from the polarization, so that we can see what resonates better with us a little bit more. But that's basically what's happening now. So, I mean, I know a lot of people tell me, the world is changing, the world is falling apart. But it's only when this happens, something new can be birthed, even with pregnancy and birth for people and for animals. It comes with some
Labor pangs.
exactly.
We're talking about birth. This is a new birth.
Exactly.
Yeah, because if we don't go through anything, nothing ever changes. Everything just becomes complacent. Nobody does any work.
Exactly.
So
Yes. People take things for granted. Yeah. Or people don't see. We did so much that we don't see, that right now we are seeing, we're examining, we're thinking about it, and I think it's a rather positive aspect, what we're going through now, because otherwise the change won't happen. And this also happened, 2,000 years ago, which is why I think Jesus's teachings 2,000 years ago really took off, because he brought about something different. Even with Mary Magdalene, in the Magdalene lineage, she brought about something very, very different, because she basically moved from a very sort of patriarchal world and a very, very patriarchal system to embracing her light and being who she is. And then she could teach that. But that only happened because of all the chaos that happened in between for her to step into herself and grow into her light. It's a beautiful story in the Magdalene lineage as well.
I love your level of depth and your passion
Thank
for
you.
this story, the Jesus story. You know, I don't see many people of the Christian walk really delving into the life. I don't mean a certain period and knowing a
Yes.
little bit what happened in the beginning. The entire spectrum of the presence, walking his feet on this earth by the being we know as Jesus or Yeshua ben Joseph. I think it's just delicious. I've seen Christianity on some people who it just makes me humble. One of them is a friend of mine named Tammy. She wears it very, very well, just like you. And you're very articulate. You believe it so much. It makes it easy for everyone to simply just say yes.
Thank you so much, Keith.
It's really, yeah, really.
A lot. That means
You can
a
put
lot.
a check in the mail.
Yeah, I will. I'll ask Gavin to do that. Lovely Gavin.
I'm loving learning, taking in everything you're telling me about this wonderful book. And so these 3 books that you have written, they are surrounding the life of Jesus, right?
They're people surrounding
People
the life.
surrounding the life of Jesus. Do you have anything in the future, any other works, or are you going to stick with the Jesus theme until you're told otherwise?
No, I do have an idea percolating in my mind, which has been there for a while now. But I will not say too much about it in public because I haven't sort of put pen to paper, as it were. And, it's not in the works at all. I just have to, sort of I have to think about it a little bit more. But, I think just coming back to my passion, about the subject matter, about Jesus, I think the reason why I became passionate about it is because I regressed all these people. And when you regress people, they're not characters anymore. They become people because, I had some of these characters were crying on my couch, some of them were angry, some of them were scared, and everything was so visceral and so tangible. And so when you get in touch with the people, as opposed to just the character, it just, I don't know, I think it just touches you so much. And anyway, moving forward with my idea of another set of books, I think it's the characters and the way of life that I want to touch upon.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's why I'm looking forward to regressing you, Keith.
Oh boy. I can tell you this. I know that the character in the Bible we know as John the Baptist, he was a son of a bitch.
Yeah.
He was a hard man.
Yeah. Oh,
A
yeah.
beautiful man, loving man, but there was a way about him that he would not budge. He would just not budge. And he
Yeah.
wasn't afraid of anything. Truly not
No.
afraid of anything.
Yeah.
Didn't care what people thought.
Yeah. But, I regressed in Shrouded Truth, but this comes through all 3 books because I wanted to look at baptism, and John the Baptist was about baptism. And so, when I regressed someone close to John the Baptist in Shrouded Truth, it was so beautiful what they said about what he did to the water. He said when John the Baptist puts his hand in the water, he's channeling the light of oneness into the water. And then he's sort of connecting, with the baptism, people are connected to the light of oneness. And that same sort of thought, the same sort of philosophy was carried on in the Magdalene lineage, because both Tamar, who's the daughter of Mary Magdalene, and Jesus also said that baptism is connection to the light of oneness. And then when you go to James, he said baptism is about connecting to the love of God. And then obviously, you go to Paul the Evangelist, that's where the story changes a little bit, because he started to talk about releasing the sins and basically clearing the path to invite Jesus into your heart for you to go to heaven. So it's fascinating how John the Baptist and the way he worked touched everyone and still is touching people now.
Do you know if there were any other disciples that were still alive that followed Jesus in some of his travels once he made a permanent move from the local area?
Yes, James was very much followed Jesus a lot. Then you had
I couldn't imagine walking that far. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh no, there wasn't
horses.
walking. No, because And divine consciousness looks at this really deeply because, you know, I think the mainstream narrative basically said that Joseph, the father of, you know, and Mother Mary, they were quite poor, but in my accounts they weren't. They were merchants. And so what happened was they then, when Joseph, the father of Jesus, died, James, the brother of Jesus, took it on and grew the business so much that he started to do an export import business of tin from Cornwall in Britain to ancient Judea. And so, you know, he just started to do this massive trading business. And so he owned a fleet of ships. And so Jesus and Mary Magdalene and Martha, who is the sister of Mary Magdalene, basically, you know, got on the ships when they were exiled, and they traveled on the ships with James. So there wasn't much walking involved. It was traveling on
Thank
ships.
God.
Yeah.
Thank you, God. Let me ask you this. Are you a follower, fan of Paramahansa Yogananda?
Do you know what?
You resemble him a lot.
Yeah. I know,
No
thank
joke.
you. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I know. Someone else said that as well. I have yet to read his book. I really
Oh my
want
gosh.
to. Yeah, I really want to, but people have said that. Yeah.
It's well, have you ever seen the movie called Awake on Netflix? On
No,
Netflix,
but
look up Awake: The
but
Life of Yogananda.
oh,
It's a documentary. It's free, I think.
okay.
Yeah, Awake. Yeah.
All right. I'm writing that down. Yoga.
Oh my God, you're just gonna melt.
Yeah. Will I?
Yeah. What a beautiful soul that is.
Yeah. I mean, the person that I have read and I love his work is someone whose name I cannot pronounce. It's the person who talked about I am. Sri Nintang. Oh God, no, I can't pronounce his.
Nityananda?
That's is it? No, no,
Not Nityananda.
no, no. He's the one who, you know, the one I'm talking about is the one who talked about I am that I am, and everything comes from I am. Maha something Nisang. Oh no, it's such a long name. I can't remember it. But no, I'll email you the name. I do like him a
So
lot.
we're slowly but surely coming to the top of the hour. Where would you like to go about your beautiful work, or anything you would like to share as a spiritual teacher with this beautiful audience that's beautifully listening?
I think what I would like to share, and I think this is the main story that came out for me with divine consciousness, is that what really gripped me is that even though James, the brother of Jesus, went one way with the teachings, and you know, Paul the evangelist went another way with the teachings, and even with Mary Magdalene, who went a completely different way, and she started to lay the foundations of Gnosticism with her teachings, ultimately, with all three of them, what they were trying to impart with their work is love and compassion. And basically, that was the foundation of everything that they tried to teach. And I think the biggest tragedy of this story of divine consciousness is that that was lost in the mix. And I think people started to focus more on the external aspects. They were focusing more on the rituals. They were focusing more on who was the teacher. They were focusing more on power and politics, that they completely lost the essence of the teachings, which is just love. And I think right now, this is something that would really help us, because you know, we look at certain personalities, we look at certain situations, and it's all about division and it's all about polarization. But at the end of the day, it's to find that commonality and to find that within ourselves, which is love. And it's about the dawning of the new Christ consciousness, and Christos is about love. And I think if we can finally find that in ourselves, and if we can be unconditionally loving to the situation around us, and to ourselves. I think most importantly to
I love
ourselves.
that way. I love the way you said that. If we can be unconditionally loving to the situation,
Yeah,
that's
it is.
gorgeous.
Yeah, that's how
We need to
I
care for it. We need to nurture it. We need to allow it to
exactly.
blossom into what it's supposed to be.
That's
That's
exactly
awesome.
right.
Let me ask you this, dear. I've been dropping your website here in the forum. Does your website take them to Amazon for those who would love to pre-order this delicious work that you've been putting out?
Yes, if they go onto my shop page, it does go onto Divine Consciousness. It does go onto Amazon UK though, but you can also find it on Amazon US.
Anything you'd like to leave us in closing?
I think that's it. Just, if we can bring through, I think one of the big reasons that these accounts have come through now is for us to remember the essence of Jesus's teachings, which is love. And if we can find that within ourselves, if we can just be love, if we can love the situation, love the personalities, love everything, and just watch as this amazing new world is being birthed in as detached as as we can possibly do that, I think that is what I would like to leave your audience with today.
Thank you for joining me on Center of Light Radio, dear.
Thank you so much, Keith, for having me.
Stick around. I want to chat with you in the green room for a little bit.
Okay.
I got just a few minutes. Thank you. Everyone, Reena Kumarasingham. I'm giving it a try. Keith Anthony Blanchard here, Center of Light Radio. A couple of quick announcements. Let me see if I can do this again tonight. Please don't play that music. It doesn't. Tonight I'm going to be doing a presentation, as Reena and I have been speaking about, the dawning of Aquarius and all the bells and whistles that come with that. That's going to be at 8 o'clock tonight, Central Time. Keith Anthony Blanchard here, Center of Light Radio. You are loved beyond measure. There's nothing ever now or ever will be created that is more important than you. The playing field's even, but you got to get in the game. Are you getting in the game? I'm in it to win it. You're loved beyond measure. See you soon. See you tonight.